Ever feel like you're just scratching the surface when it comes to trading? Like everyone else is in on some secret, you know? They always seem to know exactly when to buy and sell. Well, get this. There's this new platform, MetaQuant 4D, and it's really shaking things up.
It really is fascinating to see this kind of technology emerge now, at this particular moment.
What do you mean?
Well, we're drowning in data these days, right?
Yeah.
Especially with high-frequency trading, just adding layers and layers of complexity. Most platforms, they give you the basic charts, the graphs.
Right, the usual.
Exactly. But MetaQuant 4D, this is different. It allows you to visualize all that data, but in a way we haven't really seen before. It's like, if you'll forgive the analogy, upgrading from a simple magnifying glass to a super-powered microscope.
Okay, now that's an image I can get behind. Ditching the magnifying glass. So, for those of us ready to make that leap, break it down. What is MetaQuant 4D and what makes it so revolutionary?
Imagine instead of just seeing rows of numbers on a screen, you're inside the market itself.
Whoa, okay, inside.
Yeah, you're surrounded by this three-dimensional representation of every buy and sell order happening.
You're blowing my mind a little, I have to say.
It's wild, right?
Huh.
MetaQuant 4D takes all that real-time order flow data, which is really the lifeblood of the market.
I was going to say, it's what makes the market move.
Precisely.
Yeah.
And it turns it into something you can actually see, something you can interact with.
Hold on, back up a sec. So we're not just talking about looking at charts here. It's like a whole different world. You can actually see the market moving around you.
You got it. It's like having, and I know this sounds cliche, but it's like having X-ray vision, but for the stock market. Let's say there's, I don't know, a major sell-off about to happen. You'd probably miss it if you were just looking at a regular flat graph. But with this, MetaQuant 4D lets you spot those patterns, those anomalies in the order flow, things that would normally be invisible. Total game changer.
Okay, yeah, I'm starting to see why people are excited about this. Now, you mentioned this platform uses something called Orderflow as its foundation. Can you unpack that a little? I hear that term everywhere, but I'm not sure I fully get it, to be honest.
Oh, it's actually simpler than it sounds. Basically, every trade, from the tiniest price fluctuation to massive market crashes, everything happens because someone placed a buy order and someone else placed a sell order.
Right, buy and sell, the essentials.
Exactly. Order flow is just tracking that constant back and forth between those orders. And MetaQuant 4D lets you see that entire dance happening in real time.
So it's like seeing the forces behind the numbers, the actual forces that move the market. This is really cool.
Exactly. And that's where market depth comes in, which is another super important piece of all this.
Okay, so we're building a bigger picture here. Fill us in. What's market depth and how does it fit with everything else we've talked about?
Okay, think of it this way. Imagine a packed stadium, right? Like a concert or a big game.
Gotcha. Crowded, lots of energy.
Right. The lower levels, closest to the action, those are packed with the diehard fans. In the market, that represents your strong buy and sell orders. But as you go higher up in the stadium.
Fewer people, maybe not as invested in the game.
Exactly. More empty seats, weaker order pressure.
So market depth is basically a measure of how much buying or selling power exists at different price levels, those lower levels showing the strongest support or resistance.
Precisely. And the beauty of MetaQuant 4D is it lets you visualize those crowd levels in the market. You can actually see where that strong support and resistance is, not just guess based on old charts.
Wow, this is really starting to make sense now. Instead of relying on those lagging indicators, we're talking about seeing the actual forces of supply and demand unfolding right in front of us. It would be so valuable to be able to see those crowd levels you're describing.
Oh, absolutely. And you know what else is key here? We can't forget about volume.
Oh, right, volume. Good point.
It's like, sticking with our stadium analogy, it's like hearing the roar of the crowd,
I like it.
A packed lower level, yeah, it might look impressive on paper, but...
But if those fans are silent...
Exactly. If there's no energy, it might not mean much. Big volume, though. That means those price levels, they're supported by real buying or selling pressure. People are putting their money where their mouth is, so to speak.
So it's like we're making sure those fans in the lower levels, they're actually there for the main event.
Yeah.
They're not just wandering in by accident. They're ready to buy or sell, which makes those support and resistance levels even stronger.
You got it, 100%. And this is where the real-time aspect of MetaQuant 4D becomes so essential. Because it's not enough to just see the crowd, right? You need to see how they're moving, how their energy is shifting. That's how you anticipate those big breakouts or breakdowns.
Okay, this is where I need you to really walk me through this. Let's say I'm looking at MetaQuant 4D right now, okay? I'm watching ETHUSD. What am I looking for? What's my first move?
All right, so let's say, hypothetically, you're seeing a really strong cluster of buy orders.
Okay, strong cluster. Got it.
Around, let's say, $8,825 for ETH.
Okay,
That's your packed lower level right there. Shows potential support at that price.
makes sense.
And let's say there's a good amount of volume there, too, just to confirm that those orders, they've got some weight behind them. Now, the question is, how do you, as the trader, want to play this?
Let's go with a scalping scenario. I'm all about those quick wins, you know?
Okay, so you're a scalper. Love it. In that case, timing is everything. You wouldn't necessarily place a buy order right at that $1,825 support level, right? You'd want to wait for a little dip below that, maybe to like $820.
Ah, I see where you're going with this.
You're anticipating a bounce back up. That dip, that's where you make your move.
So even though there's strong support at $1,825, I'm using MetaQuant 4D to find an even better entry point.
Exactly.
I'm looking for those micro movements, those little dips where I can buy low and hopefully sell high a few minutes later.
Exactly. You're getting it. That's the beauty of this whole platform. It's not just about identifying those big support and resistance zones. It's about finding those optimal entry and exit points within those zones.
Maximize those gains.
Precisely.
Yeah.
Maximize profit potential, even on the smallest price fluctuations.
Yeah.
But, and this is crucial, no matter what, you always have to manage your risk.
Right. Even the best traders, they have those losing streaks, right? So how does MetaQuant 4D help with risk management in this scenario, in that scalping scenario we were talking about?
Okay, so golden rule. No matter how confident you are in your analysis, no matter what, you always set a stop-loss order.
Smart.
Think of it as your safety net.
Safety net. I like that.
In this case, if you bought ETH at $8,820, you might set your stop loss at, say, $4,850.
So I'm basically saying, okay, I'm willing to risk a $5 drop, but if it goes below that, get me out.
Exactly. You got it. You're limiting your potential losses. It's all about protecting yourself from those unexpected market swings. Now, of course, the exact placement of your stop loss, that depends on your personal risk tolerance and the specifics of the trade, but you get the idea.
Totally. This is making me rethink my entire trading strategy, I'm not going to lie. It sounds
I see.
like MetaQuant 4D could be insanely powerful if you know what you're doing.
It has the potential, definitely. But, and I can't stress this enough, technology like this, it's just a tool.
Right.
It's up to the trader to use it wisely.
I like that. So let's shift gears a bit here. Let's talk about how we can use this technology not just to react to the market, but to maybe even like predict where it's going next.
Okay, now we're getting into some exciting stuff. We need to talk about algorithmic trading.
Algorithmic trading. Okay, now that sounds seriously futuristic. Is that where we're headed with MetaQuant 4D?
Yeah.
Like trading bots making split-second decisions based on these like wild 3D market visualizations?
It's actually not as crazy as it sounds. Imagine, right, taking all the principles we've been talking about, order flow, market depth, volume, all of it, and then imagine programming all that into an algorithm.
Okay, yeah.
An algorithm that can analyze the markets and execute trades, like nonstop,
247.
24/7, even while you sleep.
So instead of like being glued to my screen all day, I could have my own little trading assistant.
Basically.
Powered by MetaQuant 4D, just working away in the background.
That sounds amazing.
That's the idea. Of course, algorithmic trading, it can get super complex.
There are definitely challenges, risks, all that. But platforms like this, MetaQuant 4D, they have the potential to like really change the game. They provide that raw data, those visualization tools. They can take those algorithms to a whole new level.
This is seriously making me rethink my whole approach. But tell me, is this really the future of trading? Are we all going to be like huddled over these 3D visualizations trying to outsmart each other's algorithms?
It's definitely a possibility. The financial world, it loves innovation. It's all about getting that edge, right?
Yeah.
So tools like MetaQuant 4D, they're a natural evolution. Kind of like, we went from abacuses to calculators to these insanely powerful computers we have now.
Makes sense. But what does that mean for the average investor? Someone like me who can't spend all day, every day, just like studying the market. Will this just give like a bigger advantage to the big institutional investors?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? On the one hand, having more transparency, better access to these advanced tools, that should, in theory, benefit everyone.
Right. A level playing field.
Right. But we can't ignore the fact that sometimes technology can unintentionally widen the gap.
So you're saying we could end up in a future where like just a handful of super efficient algorithms are controlling everything and the rest of us are like left behind in the dust? That sounds a little ominous.
It's a valid concern, for sure. But remember, at the end of the day, Technology is just a tool, right? How we
Yeah.
use it, how we regulate it, how we make sure everyone has fair access, those are all choices we make. It doesn't have to be this scary algorithmic free-for-all.
That's a good point. It sounds like MetaQuant 4D and platforms like it, they have the potential to be really disruptive in good ways and maybe some not so good ways. But what's your overall take? Is this a passing fad or is this something that's here to stay?
Well, you know what they say about predicting the future. It's never easy. But personally, I think this whole idea of visualization, it's only going to get more important in trading.
How so?
As the markets get even more complex, even more data-driven, our ability to process all that information visually, that's going to be key. Think of it, we're hardwired to recognize patterns, to spot things that are out of place. It's in our DNA.
So it's not just about having the data, it's about being able to understand it, make sense of it in a way that our brains are actually equipped to handle.
Exactly.
And MetaQuant 4D, it takes something that seems incredibly complex and it makes it, I don't know, intuitive.
Exactly. It's the difference between staring at a spreadsheet packed with numbers versus seeing this dynamic, interactive representation of what those numbers actually mean. It's about experiencing the market, not just analyzing it.
That's such a great way to put it. It's like stepping inside the matrix, seeing the code that makes the market move. And who knows what we'll discover, What kind of new opportunities will open up when we can look at the market from this totally different angle.
That's what makes it so exciting. This is just the beginning. The possibilities are endless as this technology keeps evolving.
Well, this deep dive has been, I have to say, mind-blowing. I feel like I have a whole new understanding of where trading is headed.
It's been a pleasure exploring all this with you.
And to all our listeners, thank you so much for joining us on this incredible journey. If this deep dive sparked your curiosity, don't stop here. The world of trading is always changing, and who knows, maybe one of you listening will be the one to come up with the next big breakthrough. Until next time, everyone, happy trading.